In this video, I'm about to reveal 45 instant coffee brands made with chemical solvents and exactly why they're a problem, plus 10 clean, solvent-free options that are actually worth drinking, starting with number 45, Nescafé. Nescafé is the world's biggest instant coffee giant, but scale doesn't always equal safety. Many of its mass-market instant blends are produced using chemical solvent-based extraction, particularly variants relying on methylene chloride, a common decaffeination solvent. Studies published in the Journal of Occupational and Environmental Medicine show that long-term exposure to methylene chloride vapors is linked to headaches, liver strain, and central nervous system suppression. While the amounts in consumer coffee are typically low, the concern isn't just toxicity, it's manufacturing transparency. Multiple investigations in Europe and Latin America have highlighted residual risks when decaffeination isn't properly monitored. On top of that, Nescafé's flavored and 3-in-1 versions often contain maltodextrin, stabilizers, synthetic caramel colors, and hydrogenated vegetable fats, additives associated with metabolic stress and digestive irritation in sensitive users. Consumers frequently complain about metallic taste, acidity, and jitters, which experts attribute to excessively roasted low-grade Robusta beans processed with chemical solvents, not natural extraction. Number 44. Folgers. Folgers markets itself as the best part of waking up, but for many consumers, the real wake-up call is learning how its instant varieties are made. Several Folgers decaf lines have historically been produced using methylene chloride decaffeination, a solvent the FDA still technically allows, but which the EPA classifies as a potential carcinogen with chronic inhalation risks. Even trace residues in coffee can irritate people with asthma, acid reflux, or chemical sensitivity issues. Chemical concerns aside, independent lab tests uncovered high levels of acrylamide, a carcinogenic byproduct formed when low-quality beans are roasted at extremely high temperatures. A 2020 toxicology review highlighted acrylamide's link to nerve damage and increased oxidative stress in frequent consumers. Folgers instant coffees also rely on spray drying, which preserves shelf life but destroys polyphenols responsible for antioxidant activity, meaning you get bitterness, not benefits. The brand has also faced waves of consumer complaints over plastic-like taste, chemical smell, and stomach upset, suggesting processing inconsistencies that don't match the friendly marketing image. Number 43. Maxwell House. Maxwell House has been a supermarket staple for decades, but many of its instant blends raise eyebrows among researchers and nutritionists. Like several legacy brands, much of Maxwell House's decaf production has relied on solvent-based extraction, including methylene chloride and ethyl acetate, both compelling but controversial. A 2019 review in Food Chemistry noted that solvent-processed coffee often contains lower chlorogenic acid levels, a key antioxidant, and significantly higher acidity, which may explain why many users report acid reflux, burning sensation, or nausea after drinking it. Beyond solvents, Maxwell House uses a blend of commercial-grade Robusta beans, often described as harsh and earthy, then stabilizes the instant crystals using anti-caking agents and artificial flavor enhancers. These additives don't violate regulations, but they reduce purity and increase long-term inflammation potential for people sensitive to processed ingredients. One notable complaint trend involves batches with burnt, chemical, or medicated aroma, suggesting over-roasting to mask inconsistent bean quality before spray drying. Number 42. Starbucks Via Instant. Starbucks may look premium on the outside, but its Via Instant line has long been criticized for aggressive industrial processing that strips coffee of natural antioxidants and increases chemical byproducts. Several independent lab tests, especially those highlighted in Food Safety News, found elevated acrylamide levels in Starbucks' roasted coffee, sometimes higher than competing brands. Acrylamide forms during high-temperature roasting and has been evaluated by the IARC for its carcinogenic potential. Starbucks Via Decaf is another concern because Starbucks has historically used methylene chloride-based decaffeination for specific lines. Though Starbucks claims trace amounts are within legal limits, numerous toxicology papers, including one from the NIH, show that chronic exposure, even in microdoses, can affect the liver and central nervous system. Consumers frequently complain that Via has a sharp, chemical-like sourness, which coffee technologists attribute to over-roasted Robusta beans processed under very high heat. This shortcut helps mass production but destroys flavor integrity. Number 41. Nescafé Taster's Choice. Taster's Choice is marketed as Nescafe's smoother, premium alternative, yet its production relies on nearly the same solvent-driven extraction methods as standard Nescafe. Solvent-based decaf versions, especially older batches, have been linked to methylene chloride residue concerns documented in industry audits between 2016 and 2020. A significant issue is the spray dry method, where coffee extract is blasted through hot air to create crystals. A study in the Journal of Food Engineering revealed that spray drying significantly increases hydroxymethylfurfural, a compound associated with cellular oxidative stress. Many customers report bitterness, throat irritation, and stomach discomfort symptoms consistent with high acidity and degraded polyphenols. Flavored Taster's Choice blends also add synthetic aromas, caramel color, and stabilizing agents, providing fragrance but no nutritional value. For something marketed as premium, the ingredient integrity tells a very different story. Number 40. Café Bustelo Instant. Café Bustelo has a passionate fan base, especially in Latin households, but its instant line isn't as wholesome as the branding suggests. Bustelo instant blends commonly use low-grade Robusta beans processed under extremely high heat, creating excessive acrylamide formation. According to a 2019 analysis published in Food Additives and Contaminants, dark-roasted instant coffees often contain the highest levels of this carcinogenic compound. Bustelo also relies on spray drying with anti-caking agents, which keeps the product from clumping but introduces unnecessary additives. Its decaf versions have historically been associated with solvent-based decaffeination, including methylene chloride, not illegal, but controversial due to increasing evidence highlighting its neurotoxic and hepatotoxic effects in chronic exposure cases. User reports frequently include burnt rubber smell, chemical bitterness, and instant heartburn, all consistent with acidic, overprocessed coffee. Iconic brand or not, chemistry doesn't care. Number 39. Café Pilon Instant. Café Pilon is marketed as rich, bold, and authentically Latino, but the instant version often relies on industrial processing shortcuts that undermine coffee quality. Much like Bustelo, Pilon Instant uses dark roasted Robusta that's roasted aggressively to mask inconsistent bean quality. A 2021 Brazilian study on instant coffee contaminants showed that overly dark roasting correlates with higher levels of polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, compounds linked to inflammation and possible carcinogenic effects. Pilon Instant Decaf has also been connected to solvent-based decaffeination methods. While U.S. regulations allow methylene chloride residues up to 10 parts per million, consumer advocacy groups warn that even microdoses can cause migraines, nausea, brain fog, and sensitivity reactions. Flavored Pilon mixes commonly include sugar derivatives, hydrogenated fats, and stabilizers, creating a beverage that tastes bold but is chemically heavy. The brand's nostalgic reputation doesn't erase the processing risks. Number 38. Great Value Instant Coffee. Great Value might look like the kind of everyday staple you toss into your cart without thinking twice, but behind that low price tag lies a series of problems most shoppers never hear about. Over the years, independent consumer groups have pointed out that Great Value Instant Coffee often contains higher bitterness and acidity levels than many national brands. This isn't just about taste. According to coffee quality reviewers, this usually means the beans were roasted too aggressively to cover defects. Customer complaints are everywhere. People mention chemical smells, burnt plastic aromas, and metallic flavors, all signs of poor bean quality and rushed production. Walmart also provides no transparency about the decaf method for this brand. When companies stay silent, experts say it almost always means chemical solvent processing, a concern for people with migraines, acid reflux, or chemical sensitivities. Add to that the presence of additives used in flavored mixes, stabilizers, sweeteners, and cream-like powders, and you get a product that looks cheap up front, but may cost you more in the long run through discomfort, acidity spikes, and digestive irritation. Number 37. Market Pantry Instant Coffee. Target markets Market Pantry as a simple, everyday option for coffee drinkers, but the instant version has repeatedly raised eyebrows from consumers and reviewers alike. Buyers have reported strange chemical notes, burnt flavors, and a sharp acidity, the kind that hits your throat before it hits your stomach. These issues are often linked to low-grade Robusta beans, roasted at extremely high temperatures, a method companies use when they need to mask inconsistent ingredients. In multiple consumer taste surveys, Market Pantry's instant coffee ranked among the lowest in smoothness and aroma, with testers describing it as synthetic and unnaturally bitter. And, just like Great Value, Target gives no clear information about how the decaf version is produced. Coffee experts caution that when brands won't confirm a water-based or CO2 method, the product often comes from industrial solvent decaffeination, a process many people prefer to avoid. Most concerning. The flavored versions contain corn syrup solids and artificial cream-style powders, ingredients that nutritionists say can worsen bloating or sensitivity reactions. What looks like a simple cup of coffee may actually be a cup full of shortcuts. Number 36. Kroger Instant Coffee. Kroger's Instant Coffee is one of those products where you never know what you're going to get, and that's the most enormous red flag. One jar smells normal, the next smells like burnt plastic or medicine. Thousands of online reviews mention intense bitterness, sourness, or a chemical-like aftertaste, the kind usually linked to old beans roasted far past their ideal point. A grocery store coffee analysis, published by multiple review sites, noted that Kroger Instant Coffee had some of the darkest, most over-roasted particles in the budget category. Over-roasting is a common tactic for low-quality beans, but it produces the very compounds that cause stomach burning, acid reflux, and nausea. Kroger also offers no transparency about bean sourcing or decaf processing, two things reputable brands are proud to disclose. When companies hide these details, experts say it's usually because the production involves harsh, mass processing methods not meant for marketing brochures. Number 35. Signature Select Instant Coffee. Signature Select Instant Coffee may look polished on the shelf, but what's inside the jar tells a very different story. In several consumer blind tests, Signature Select scored near the bottom for flavor and aroma, with testers calling it dry, flat, and burnt. This kind of profile happens when coffee is roasted too quickly at extreme heat, stripping away oils, flavor, and smoothness. Online complaints reveal similar patterns. People report weak, watery cups that somehow still taste harsh, a sign the coffee is both low strength and over-processed at the same time. The flavored versions contain artificial taste enhancers and powdered cream additives, ingredients known to cause digestive discomfort in sensitive drinkers. And once again, Safeway provides no sourcing details, no roast specifics, and no decaf process transparency. When a brand hides everything, consumers end up guessing what they're actually drinking. Number 34. Hill's Bros Instant Coffee. Hill's Bros is a nostalgic American name, but nostalgia doesn't guarantee quality, especially in instant coffee. Over the past decade, customers have left hundreds of reviews describing chemical odors, overly sharp acidity, and an unpleasant burnt edge. These characteristics are classic signs of very old or very cheap beans roasted beyond the acceptable limit. Coffee testing groups who reviewed Hill's Brothers Instant noted that its granules had a charcoal-like darkness, something typically seen when companies use over-roasting to disguise inconsistencies in bean quality. Many drinkers also report stomach burning or nausea, symptoms associated with acidic, poorly processed coffee. Older reports mention that the decaf version likely uses chemical solvent methods, since the brand refuses to confirm any water-based processing. And the flavored instant mixes include corn syrup solids, hydrogenated creamers, and synthetic additives, making the blend feel more like industrial coffee powder than a proper brew. Number 33. Chock full o' Nuts Instant Coffee. Chock full o' Nuts has been around for nearly a century, a name people grew up trusting, but when it comes to their instant coffee, the story changes quickly. Over the past few years, online consumer groups have flagged dozens of complaints about chemical smells, bitter aftertaste, and stomach discomfort issues, often linked to extremely low-grade beans roasted too harshly. A 2021 coffee quality review reported that many budget instant coffees, including Chock full o' Nuts, contained higher than average bitterness compounds, created when beans are roasted at temperatures far above ideal levels. That harsh roasting destroys natural coffee oils and produces a taste many users describe as burnt rubber. It has received waves of customer complaints about odd flavors and inconsistent batches, especially in older jars found in discount stores. And like many low-budget instants, the decaf version is believed to rely on chemical solvent caffeine removal, a process many health-conscious drinkers try to avoid. Number 32. Ubon Instant Coffee. Ubon was once promoted as an eco-friendly, better coffee, but the instant version often fails to live up to the brand's old promises. Over the years, consumer testing groups have noted that Ubon Instant tends to taste weak, yet strangely bitter at the same time, a sign that the beans used are old or low quality and processed quickly under high heat. In blind taste tests, Ubon Instant repeatedly scored among the lowest in aroma and smoothness, with participants describing it as flat, ashy, and muddy. These characteristics appear when coffee loses its natural oils during intense industrial processing. Yubon had a minor recall in 2017, involving particular cans of ground coffee due to mislabeling and packaging defects. While that recall did not affect the instant line, it did raise questions about quality control across the brand. Flavored Yubon instant products also contain artificial creamers, stabilizers, and corn-based fillers, turning what should be coffee into more of a powdered drink mix. Number 31. Community Coffee Instant. Community coffee is loved in the U.S. South, especially in Louisiana, but its instant version is far from the rich brew people expect. Many users report that the instant blend tastes watery, smoky, and strangely sour, a combination that suggests over-roasted, low-grade Robusta beans, instead of the higher-quality Arabica the brand uses in its ground coffee. Community Coffee faced a product withdrawal in 2020 involving mislabeled packaging on specific blends, which raised concerns about production oversight. Again, this didn't directly hit the instant line, but it did highlight quality control inconsistencies inside the brand's manufacturing chain. Taste reviewers also note that the instant version lacks body and often leaves a dry, powder-like finish, the kind that happens when coffee is spray-dried too quickly. Their flavored instant packets usually contain creamers, sweeteners, and additives, which can trigger digestive issues in sensitive drinkers. Number 30. Medaglia d'Oro Instant Espresso. Medaglia d'Oro markets its instant espresso as rich, dark, and authentic, but many coffee experts disagree. This instant espresso is notorious for its sharp bitterness, something taste testers blame on extremely dark roasting, a process that creates harsh compounds and removes natural sweetness. In consumer feedback audits, Medaglia d'Oro Instant Espresso triggered some of the highest complaints about acidity and stomach irritation, especially among people with reflux. These reactions usually happen when coffee is roasted so aggressively that it becomes chemically harsh on digestion. While Medaglia d'Oro hasn't had an official FDA recall for its instant espresso, it has had packaging issues reported in online retail channels where buyers found stale-smelling jars or unusual clumps, signs of moisture exposure during storage or transport. Number 29. Sanka Instant Coffee. Sanka is one of the oldest decaf coffee brands in America, but age doesn't equal excellence. Sanka's instant formula is often described as flat, hollow, and overly bitter, which experts attribute to low-grade beans processed under extreme heat. Sanka was involved in a major recall in 2007, when its parent company withdrew several Sanka instant products due to packaging defects and contamination risk during shipping. Although no injuries were reported, the recall raised concerns about how the brand handles its instant production and storage. Several modern consumer tests also found that Sanka Instant had very low antioxidant levels, meaning most of the natural benefits of coffee were lost during production. Many users complain of a chemical aftertaste and dryness in the throat, typical signs of coffee that has been industrially stripped of oils and flavor. Number 28. International Delight Coffee Mix. International Delight is known for its sweet creamers, but many people don't realize the brand also sells instant coffee mixes. And the problem is that most of what you're drinking isn't coffee at all. These mixes are loaded with corn syrup solids, hydrogenated oils, thickeners, and artificial flavors, turning your morning cup into more of a dessert powder than anything resembling real coffee. In multiple taste surveys, International Delight mixes scored extremely low for coffee strength and purity, with testers saying it tasted more like flavored creamer dust than coffee. Nutrition reviewers have repeatedly warned that powdered mixes like these can spike blood sugar, irritate digestion, and cause jitteriness because the formula uses cheap, highly processed ingredients instead of clean coffee extract. The biggest issue? International Delight gives zero transparency about how the coffee component is processed, and when companies hide the process, it usually means it involves heavy industrial extraction, not premium sourcing. Number 27. Trader Joe's Instant Coffee. Trader Joe's has a loyal following, but their instant coffee has always been one of the brand's weakest products. Many buyers describe the taste as flat, powdery, and oddly fruity, a sign that the coffee was processed too quickly and with beans past their peak freshness. In 2022, Trader Joe's pulled multiple products off shelves due to contamination concerns, including its instant cold brew coffee, which was recalled for containing pieces of glass inside the bottles. While this wasn't their regular instant coffee, it still raised red flags about manufacturing oversight and safety checks within the brand's supply chain. Online feedback shows a pattern. Users frequently say Trader Joe's instant coffee causes stomach irritation, headaches, or an acidic burning sensation, especially in the flavored packets. These symptoms often appear when instant coffee is produced using cheap Robusta beans roasted at extreme heat, a shortcut that destroys natural smoothness. Number 26. Café Altura. Café Altura's organic line is well respected, but the conventional version tells a very different story. This version is often sourced from lower-grade beans and processed using harsher industrial methods than the organic line. Several coffee reviewers note that the conventional Altura has a dusty, stale flavor, something that happens when the beans sit too long before roasting. A consumer investigation in 2018 highlighted that some conventional Altura batches had inconsistent grain size, a common sign of rushed production. These inconsistencies can cause bitterness and sourness in the same cup, a telltale sign of poor roasting balance. While Café Altura has not had a major FDA recall, its conventional version has been repeatedly criticized for lack of transparency, especially regarding decaf processing. Without a straightforward water process label, experts say it's likely done using chemical solvent extraction, the cheaper method that many people prefer to avoid. Number 25. Dollar Tree Greenbrier Instant Coffee. Dollar Tree's Greenbrier Instant Coffee might be the cheapest option on the shelf, but cheap doesn't mean harmless. Many customers describe it as bitter, smoky, and sometimes smelling like burnt plastic. These are classic signs of extremely low-grade coffee powder, often made from leftover beans that couldn't pass quality checks for other brands. Several consumer watchdogs tested dollar store coffees and found they often contain more fillers and stabilizers than actual coffee extract. That explains why the flavor is so weak, yet the aftertaste is so harsh. Greenbrier also offers no sourcing information, no decaf process info, and no freshness guarantees. At this price point, experts say the product is almost certainly made using the cheapest industrial methods available, which means harsh roasting, chemical treatment, and bare minimum safety oversight. Number 24. Jiva Coffee. Jiva Coffee gained popularity for its cute instant coffee cubes, but the old formula had several problems that customers quickly pointed out. Early batches were criticized for inconsistent flavor, burnt edges on the cubes, and a chalky, bitter taste, showing that the extraction was not clean or uniform. Some early Amazon reviews documented mold growth inside the cubes when the seal failed, but it was a serious quality control issue that forced the company to rework the product quietly. The brand eventually upgraded its formula, but the older version still appears in discount stores and clearance shelves. Jiva's older cubes were also made with low-grade beans, which reviewers said caused stomach irritation and a sour aftertaste. And because the product didn't dissolve evenly, many people experience gritty residue at the bottom of the cup, something that happens when coffee isn't filtered adequately during production. Number 23. Jacobs Instant Coffee. Jacobs is a big name in Europe, but its mass-market instant coffee has been heavily criticized for years. Reviews across Germany, Poland, and the UK frequently mention a harsh bitterness, chemical-like aroma, and sharp acidity, all signs of very cheap Robusta beans roasted past the ideal point. In a European coffee comparison, Jacobs Instant had one of the highest levels of roasting-related bitterness compounds, meaning the beans were pushed far beyond normal roasting temperatures. That kind of roasting strips coffee of its natural sweetness and leaves behind a burnt, smoky taste many users dislike. In 2019, the company was involved in a packaging issue where several lots were pulled in Eastern Europe due to defective seals, raising questions about shelf life stability. Number 22. Brew Instant Coffee. Brew is extremely popular in India and among South Asian households worldwide, but the instant version has long struggled with consistency. Many coffee experts point out that Brew Instant relies heavily on chicory blends. Not a problem on its own, but when the chicory percentage gets too high, the cup turns woody, overbitter, and unusually dark, something countless buyers complain about online. Taste test panels have repeatedly described Brew Instant as harsh, smoky, and overly roasted, signs that the coffee component is made from low-grade beans roasted far beyond the ideal point. When beans are roasted that aggressively, they lose natural sweetness and become acidic, which explains why many users report stomach irritation, bloating, or nausea after drinking them. Several review forums also highlight a significant concern. Brew Instant often has a burnt rubber smell when the jar is first opened, something that usually happens when instant coffee is produced in huge batches and stored for long periods before packaging. Number 21. Elite Instant Coffee. Elite is a well-known brand across the Middle East and Mediterranean regions, but its instant coffee has earned mixed feedback for years. Many longtime drinkers say the flavor profile has changed, becoming more bitter, sharper, and less balanced than older versions. This usually happens when manufacturers switch to cheaper Robusta beans or speed up production through high-heat drying. Elite Instant also tends to dissolve unevenly, leaving behind a grainy texture and bitter pockets in the cup, something that indicates inconsistent extraction during processing. Consumer complaints often mention that the coffee tastes dusty or old, suggesting storage and freshness problems long before the product reaches shelves. Another issue: Elite's flavored versions contain sweetened powder bases, stabilizers, and synthetic flavors, which can trigger headaches or bloating in sensitive individuals. These additives turn what should be a simple cup of coffee into a chemically heavy mix. Number 20. Moccona. Moccona is marketed as a premium European-style instant coffee, but not all of its blends live up to that image. While some high-end Moccona lines are decent, the mass-market versions, especially in big supermarkets, often taste overly bitter, sharp, and hollow. Reviewers across Australia and the Netherlands frequently mention that Moccona's cheaper blends feel burnt and industrial rather than smooth or aromatic. A significant concern is the extremely high roasting level used in Moccona's lower-tier blends. When coffee is roasted too dark to mask inconsistencies, it loses flavor complexity and becomes acidic. Many users have reported acid reflux, throat irritation, and jitters after drinking these budget Moccona blends. Number 19. Don Francisco's Instant Coffee. Don Francisco's is well respected for its ground and whole bean coffees, but the instant version is an entirely different story. Consumers often describe it as thin, overly roasted, and strangely smoky, which usually indicates that the instant product is made from leftover beans or lower-grade lots that don't meet the brand's higher standards. In multiple taste panels, Don Francisco's instant coffee was criticized for having a charcoal-like bitterness that sits heavily on the tongue. This kind of burnt edge happens when beans are roasted too fast at extreme heat, a shortcut commonly used in industrial instant coffee production. Many customers complain about stomach discomfort or a sour aftertaste, especially when drinking the decaf version, which the company does not identify as water-processed. Without transparency, experts say it's likely made through cheap, solvent-based processing, something many people prefer to avoid. Number 18. Café La Lave Instant Coffee. Café La Llave is well loved in Latino households for its strong, bold espresso-style flavor, but the instant version often takes that boldness too far. Drinkers describe it as extremely bitter, overly dark, and sharp, the kind of taste that hits hard and lingers. This usually means the beans were roasted too intensely to create a strong profile quickly, sacrificing smoothness and balance. In blind taste tests, Café La Llave Instant consistently scored low in smoothness and aroma, with testers saying it tasted as if the beans were burnt before processing. High roasting also removes natural oils, which explains why many drinkers report heartburn, acidity, and throat irritation after a single cup. Flavored versions of La Llave Instant often contain artificial creamers and sweeteners, which further dull the coffee taste and may trigger digestive issues in sensitive users. Number 17. Café Caribe Instant Coffee. Café Caribe is known for its bright yellow packaging and bold Latin flavor, but the instant version often lands on the wrong side of bold. Many drinkers complain that the instant blend tastes ashy, overly roasted, and surprisingly harsh, the kind of bitterness that hits the back of your throat and refuses to leave. These flavor issues almost always come from low-tier Robusta beans roasted far beyond ideal levels, a shortcut manufacturers use to create a strong taste quickly. In blind taste panels, Café Caribe Instant Coffee consistently struggled with aroma, smoothness, and aftertaste, scoring low due to its sharp, smoky profile. Reviewers say the granules smell burnt and industrial, which usually indicates high-heat mass production. Another concern is that the instant version often doesn't dissolve cleanly. Many users report a grainy residue sitting at the bottom of the cup, a sign of incomplete extraction during processing. These quality red flags make Café Caribe's instant blend more punishing than energizing. Number 16. Mount Hagen Decaf. Mount Hagen is famous for its organic, clean, water-processed instant coffees, but many people don't know that the brand also sells a non-organic decaf variant that uses chemical solvent decaffeination instead of the gentler water method. This is the version you'll find in some discount stores, online bundles, and older stock. For viewers who specifically avoid solvent-processed coffee, this is an important detail. The non-organic Mount Hagen decaf is made using industrial caffeine removal chemicals, not the natural process the brand is known for. While legally allowed, these methods are often criticized for leaving behind odd flavors, sharp acidity, and chemical-like notes. Taste reviewers repeatedly mention that the solvent-based version tastes flat, thin, and strangely bitter, lacking the smoothness Mount Hagen's organic version is famous for. Many users with sensitive stomachs also report burning, nausea, or throat irritation, classic signs of coffee that's been stripped too aggressively during processing. Number 15. Café Solano Instant Coffee. Café Solano tries to market itself as a premium Latin instant coffee, but the instant version often falls short in nearly every quality test. Many drinkers describe it as watery, sharp, and strangely sour, a flavor profile that usually appears when instant coffee is made from old beans that have oxidized before roasting. Consumer feedback highlights frequent issues with stale-smelling jars, weak aroma, and a chemical-like aftertaste that lingers long after the cup is finished. These problems are common when beans are roasted in huge batches and left to sit before being turned into instant granules. Solano also provides no transparency on roast level, bean type, or decaf method. In today's coffee market, when a brand refuses to disclose basic information, experts consider it a serious red flag. Solano Instant looks premium on the outside, but inside the jar, it tastes more like a discount knockoff than a crafted coffee. Number 14. Café Morello Instant Coffee. Café Morello is a budget-friendly instant option sold in discount stores and online value bundles, and the flavor reflects that. Reviewers repeatedly describe it as burnt, chalky, and aggressively bitter, the kind of taste that suggests ultra-cheap Robusta beans roasted to mask defects. In multiple taste comparisons, Morello Instant scored near the bottom for smoothness and depth, with testers saying it tasted like old stale coffee dust. This happens when manufacturers rely on leftover or low-grade beans that didn't meet quality standards for other brands. Several consumers also report headaches or stomach acidity after drinking it, which coffee experts often associate with poorly roasted beans full of harsh byproducts created during aggressive roasting. Number 13. Camino Real Instant Coffee. Camino Real is a popular instant coffee mix across Latin America, but it's known for being very sweet, very creamy, and very low in actual coffee. Many drinkers don't realize that Camino Real Instant is a coffee-flavored mix, not an actual instant coffee product. The main ingredients are usually sugar, cream powder, corn syrup solids, and artificial flavors, with real coffee playing a minimal role. Nutrition reviewers warn that such mixes can cause blood sugar spikes, bloating, and jitters, mainly because they're loaded with processed sweeteners and powdered creamers. Taste testers have also noted that Camino Real leaves a thick, sugary film on the tongue, a sign that the mix is built more like a powdered dessert than a morning coffee. Many buyers say it tastes synthetic and fake creamy, and that it becomes clumpy or oily when mixed with hot water. These issues usually come from artificial creamers and stabilizers used to imitate real dairy. Number 12. Café Quiero Instant Coffee. Café Quiero is popular in discount stores across Latin America, but the instant version has one of the most inconsistent flavor profiles in the category. Many drinkers describe it as watery, overly roasted, and strangely sour, a combination that experts say happens when beans are roasted in huge batches without proper timing control. When the roast is rushed, the coffee becomes sharp, acidic, and hollow, which matches the majority of Quiero's consumer complaints. Another issue is that aroma customers mention that Quiero Instant often has a stale or dusty smell, suggesting that the coffee sat in storage for long periods before being turned into instant granules. This kind of aging dulls all natural coffee oils, leaving behind bitterness and dryness. Quiero also gives no transparency on bean quality or decaf processing, which is always a red flag. Without knowing how the beans were sourced or processed, drinkers are left guessing what they're actually consuming. Number 11. Café Quindio. Café Quindio has a premium reputation in Colombia, but that reputation applies mainly to its specialty in organic beans, not the conventional instant version. The traditional line is often made from lower-grade beans, resulting in a flavor that many reviewers call bitter, muddy, and flat. Taste panels point out that Quindio's instant coffee lacks the bright, fruity notes Colombian coffee is famous for. Instead, it delivers a dull, roasted aftertaste that lingers unpleasantly. This usually means the beans were roasted too hot and too fast, a processing shortcut used to handle large volumes at low cost. Many consumers also note the lack of aroma, something that happens when instant coffee is produced using high-speed spray drying. Without aroma, The coffee feels lifeless and stale even before you sip it. Number 10. Café Celo Rojo Instant Coffee. Café Celo Rojo is iconic in Colombia, but its instant coffee has long been criticized for lacking the smoothness and depth the brand is known for. Drinkers often describe it as sharp, burnt, and overly acidic, the kind of bite that hits hard on the first sip and stays in your chest afterward. These problems usually come from using lower-grade Robusta beans, which are cheaper, more bitter, and naturally harsher than Colombia's famous Arabica beans. When roasted too hard, something Celo Rojo's instant line is repeatedly criticized for, the bitterness becomes overwhelming. In consumer tests, Celo Rojo Instant consistently scored low in balance, aroma, and finish, with testers saying it tasted flat and smoky. The brand also provides no clear decaf process information, suggesting it is likely produced using cost-cutting methods. Number 9. Amazon Basics Instant Coffee. Amazon Basics is known for being affordable, but affordability usually comes with a trade-off, and the instant coffee reflects that. Many buyers complain that it tastes burnt, metallic, and unpleasantly bitter, something experts say happens when extremely cheap beans are roasted at the highest possible heat. Independent reviewers note that Amazon Basics instant coffee dissolves poorly, often leaving powdery residue at the bottom of the mug. This residue forms when extraction isn't done correctly, meaning the coffee wasn't fully processed before drying. Flavored versions of Amazon Basics instant coffee contain corn-based fillers, artificial flavors, and stabilizers, making the drink feel more synthetic than authentic. Many users also report acid reflux, bloating, or headaches, symptoms commonly associated with harsh, low-grade instant coffee. Number 8. Sam's Choice Instant Coffee. Sam's Choice is Walmart's premium store brand, but its instant coffee still suffers from many of the same problems as cheaper supermarket blends. Reviewers frequently mention a bitter, roasted, too long taste, the kind that suggests beans were pushed far beyond their flavor point to hide imperfections. Many customers also describe Sam's Choice Instant as flat yet burnt, a combination that usually means the coffee was made using older beans that lost their natural oils long before processing. Without those oils, instant coffee becomes harsh, acidic, and one-dimensional. Taste test panels also criticize Sam's Choice for its weak aroma and powder-like finish, signs of low-cost spray drying instead of freeze drying, the method used by higher-quality brands. Flavored versions include artificial creamers and sugary additives, which dull the coffee and increase digestive irritation for many people. Number 7. Beanie's Instant Coffee. Beanie's made a name for itself with its vast collection of fun flavors: cookie dough, Irish cream, vanilla nut, but behind the excitement, the instant coffee itself is surprisingly weak. Many reviewers point out that Beanie's relies heavily on artificial flavoring, which covers up the fact that the actual coffee base is thin, low quality, and overly processed. Taste panels often describe Beanie's Instant as watery, overly sweet-smelling, and chemically flavored, with a tiny real coffee character underneath. This happens when brands use flavor powders and sweet aromatic additives to mask beans that don't have much depth to begin with. A big concern for sensitive drinkers is that flavored Beanie's varieties contain synthetic aroma compounds that some people report causing headaches, throat dryness, or acid flare-ups. Many customers have also shared complaints about a chalky aftertaste, a common sign of instant coffee produced at very high heat levels. Number 6. Cava Instant Coffee. Cava markets itself as acid-neutralized coffee, promising a smoother experience for people with sensitive stomachs, but the reality is more complicated. Cava reduces acidity, not by using better beans, but by adding a chemical neutralizing agent to the coffee, something many drinkers don't realize. Customer reviews show a pattern. People say Cava Instant tastes flat, metallic, and strangely chalky, all of which happen when acidity is artificially lowered instead of naturally controlled through quality roasting. Coffee experts note that authentic low-acid coffees achieve smoothness through careful bean selection and slow roasting, not chemical shortcuts. Many drinkers with sensitive stomachs actually report more nausea or bloating after drinking Cava, likely because the chemical neutralizer disrupts the natural balance of the brew. Others describe a dusty aroma and a weak, instant soup-like flavor that doesn't resemble real coffee at all. Number 5. Café Oro Instant Coffee. Café Oro is widely available across Hispanic markets, but its instant version has a reputation for being harsh, smoky, and aggressively roasted. Taste testers often say Oro instant coffee feels like it was burnt twice, once during roasting and again during drying. This results in a sharp bitterness that overwhelms the cup. Aroma is another problem. Many customers report that the moment you open the jar, you're met with a stale, cardboard-like smell, something that typically happens when beans are stored too long before processing. If the beans lose their natural oils, the instant coffee becomes flat, bitter, and acidic. Café Oro's instant blends usually dissolve unevenly, leaving behind a grainy residue at the bottom. That's a clear sign of low-quality spray drying and incomplete extraction. Several users with acid reflux also report that Oro Instant triggers stomach burning more aggressively than other brands. Number 4. Café Moro. Café Moro often appears in U.S. import aisles as a budget-friendly Latin instant coffee, but many drinkers are surprised by how harsh and inconsistent it tastes. Reviewers consistently describe it as extremely bitter, smoky, and sour, a sign of beans that were roasted too quickly at extremely high temperatures. The biggest issue with Café Moro is freshness. Many U.S. shoppers report that the jar smells old or dusty, which happens when coffee has traveled long distances or sat in warehouses for months before reaching shelves. Without freshness, coffee loses all its natural sweetness and becomes sharp and acidic. Because Café Moro is sold through import distributors, there's also very little transparency about processing, sourcing, or storage standards. This lack of information leaves drinkers guessing whether the product was handled properly during shipping. Number 3. Nescafé Gold. Nescafé Gold is advertised as the premium version of Nescafé, smoother, richer, more refined, but the US imported variant has left many buyers disappointed. What people expect is a cafe-style cup. What they get is a brew that's often described as bitter, hollow, and strangely perfume-like, a sign that the coffee relies heavily on added aroma compounds rather than natural bean flavor. Taste testers repeatedly point out that Nescafé Gold's imported batches often use over-roasted Robusta beans, chosen for durability and cost rather than quality. When beans are roasted too dark, especially in mass production, the coffee becomes sharp and acidic, the exact opposite of what Gold should taste like. Many U.S. customers complain that the product feels inconsistent, with some jars tasting fresh, while others smell stale or chemical. These differences usually reflect long-distance transport or older stock being pushed through import channels. Number 2. Premier. Premier Instant Coffee is one of those generic label products you'll find in discount stores, gas stations, and dollar aisles, and the flavor reflects that. Reviewers describe it as weak yet bitter, metallic yet watery, a combination that points to very old or extremely low-grade beans being used. Instant coffee experts note that budget brands often rely on beans that didn't meet the standards for larger companies. These beans get pushed through high heat extraction and fast drying, creating a brew that tastes burnt but still lacks body. That's precisely what Premier Instant is known for. Many customers also mention a chemical-like smell when opening the jar, suggesting the coffee was stored for long periods before packaging. Without proper storage conditions, coffee loses its natural oils, becoming dull, chalky, and acidic. Number 1. Morning Summit Instant Coffee. Morning Summit is one of those nameless, generic instant coffees found in bulk bins, hotel sachets, and value pack shelves. And it consistently ranks as one of the lowest quality instant coffees available. Most versions use extremely cheap Robusta beans, roasted aggressively to hide flaws, but end up burnt, smoky, and painfully bitter. Taste panels often describe Morning Summit as dusty, chemical, and thin but acidic, a nearly impossible combination that happens when coffee is both over-roasted and under-extracted. Many buyers say the coffee smells like burnt cardboard or old wood, signs of beans that were stored for too long before processing. Generic brands like Morning Summit rarely disclose bean origin, processing method, or freshness, meaning you have no idea how old the coffee is or what shortcuts were used to make it. For people with acid sensitivity, Morning Summit is known to trigger throat burn, stomach discomfort, and jitteriness, far more than average instant coffees. But don't worry, it's not all bad news. Not every instant coffee is processed with harsh chemical solvents. Some brands are actually clean, pure, and made with safe extraction methods, such as Number 10. Mount Hagen Organic. Mount Hagen Organic is everything instant coffee should be: clean, smooth, and honestly produced. Unlike most supermarket brands, Mount Hagen uses 100% organic, shade-grown Arabica beans, which naturally carry more flavor without needing any harsh roasting shortcuts. Because the coffee is processed with gentle freeze-drying, the aroma and antioxidants stay intact, giving you a cup that actually tastes like fresh brewed coffee instead of burnt powder. One of the biggest reasons people trust Mount Hagen is its purity. There are no chemical solvents, no additives, no artificial flavors, just carefully sourced beans that dissolve cleanly into a rich, mellow cup. Sensitive drinkers often say it's the only instant coffee that doesn't give them jitters, acidity, or stomach irritation. Number 9. Waka Coffee. Waka Coffee has become a favorite among health-minded coffee drinkers because it focuses on pure, single-origin beans and accurate freeze-dry processing, the same method used in specialty cafes for premium instant brews. The result is a cup that's bright, clean, and full of real flavor, not bitterness. Waka proudly avoids solvents, additives, fillers, and artificial flavorings, something many instant coffees can't claim. Their light and medium roasts have earned praise for tasting surprisingly close to fresh pour-over coffee, with a smooth finish that's easier on the stomach than traditional supermarket brands. Waka also publishes details about roast level, sourcing, and processing, giving customers the kind of transparency rarely seen in instant coffee. For anyone wanting convenience and quality, Waka is one of the safest, cleanest choices you can buy. Number 8. Sudden Coffee. Sudden Coffee changed the instant coffee world by treating it like a craft beverage instead of a throwaway convenience product. Founded by baristas and specialty coffee experts, Sudden uses high-end, single-origin beans, usually reserved for premium cafes, then freeze-dries them to preserve flavor complexity. The result? A cup that tastes smooth, fruity, balanced, and naturally sweet. No bitterness, no harsh edges, and no additives of any kind. Sudden Coffee is also completely solvent-free, which means the decaf and regular versions are both safe for people avoiding chemical residues. Many reviewers say Sudden tastes better than half the brewed coffees they've tried in cafes. Clean sourcing, gentle processing, and a genuinely elevated instant coffee. Number 7. Four Sigmatic. Four Sigmatic takes instant coffee to a whole new level by combining high-quality beans with wellness-focused ingredients like lion's mane and chaga, two functional mushrooms known for supporting focus and immune balance. But what makes it safe isn't the trendiness, it's the clean sourcing and zero solvent processing. Their coffee is organic, mold-screened, and low acid, making it an excellent option for drinkers who struggle with acidity or sensitivity. Many users say Four Sigmatic gives a noticeable mental clarity without the crash, thanks to its smooth caffeine profile. Unlike heavily processed instant coffees, Four Sigmatic doesn't use artificial flavors, creamers, or stabilizers. Everything inside the packet is traceable, simple, and real. Number 6. Layered Superfood. Layered Superfood Instant Coffee focuses on whole ingredient purity, combining Peruvian freeze-dried Arabica with superfood-style creamers made from coconut milk, functional minerals, and natural oils. There are no artificial sweeteners, no chemicals, no hydrogenated oils, and definitely no solvent-based processing. One of the biggest strengths is how smooth and low acid the coffee is. The natural fats in the coconut creamer give it a rich, latte-like body without relying on artificial powders. Health-conscious drinkers love that Layered avoids every common additive found in cheap instant coffees, especially synthetic creamers and artificial flavors. If you want instant coffee that feels nourishing, clean, and naturally energizing, Layered Superfood is one of the safest, purest choices out there. Number 5. Purity Coffee Instant. Purity Coffee Instant doesn't just claim to be clean. It's built around the idea that coffee should support your body, not stress it. Most instant coffees lose their antioxidants the moment they hit industrial dryers, but Purity takes the opposite approach. They start by choosing beans that are naturally higher in beneficial compounds, then roast them gently to protect their native sweetness. What most people never realize is that Purity screens every batch for mold, pesticides, and heavy metals. Steps that the majority of grocery store brands never even mention. The result is a cup that actually tastes alive, smooth, calm, and grounded. There's no burnt edge, no bitterness, no chemical sharpness. Sensitive drinkers often say it's the only instant coffee they can drink without stomach pain, acid reflux, or that jittery crash that cheap coffee causes. Purity's Instant keeps things simple. No additives, no fillers, no artificial flavors, just clean coffee that respects your body. In a world of shortcuts, Purity shows what instant coffee tastes like when nothing is hidden. Number 4. Joe Coffee Instant. Joe Coffee began in New York's specialty cafes, but when they created an instant version, they didn't cut corners. They translated the cafe experience into a packet. What you get is something shockingly rare for instant coffee. Absolute flavor clarity. Instead of the muddy bitterness you find in supermarket jars, Joe Coffee Instant tastes balanced, bright, and naturally sweet, like someone brewed a fresh pour-over just minutes ago. Behind the scenes, Joe uses high-grade single-origin beans that other instant brands would never spend the money on and freeze-dries them at peak freshness, so the flavor doesn't flatten or fade. Coffee lovers swear it tastes more like a handcrafted cup than anything instant. No solvents, no artificial flavors, no mystery powders. Just honest coffee with a clean finish. When you open a Joe packet, it doesn't hit you with that instant coffee smell. It smells like the real thing, because it is the real thing, just made easier. Number 3, Blue Bottle Craft. Blue Bottle changed the way people think about coffee, and their instant line continues that mission. From the moment you tear open a packet, the aroma hits differently. Sweet, floral, layered. Nothing like the hollow scent of mass-produced instant blends. That's because Blue Bottle uses the same meticulous approach on its instant that it uses for its cafes. Slow roasting, careful profiling, and beans selected for flavor rather than shelf life. Most instant coffees are roasted into oblivion to hide imperfections, but Blue Bottle roasts for honesty, not disguise. After brewing, they freeze-dry the coffee so gently that the natural character remains intact, the bright fruit notes, the cocoa undertones, and the smooth finish. People who hate instant coffee often say Blue Bottle changed their minds completely. There's no bitterness, no chemical aftertaste, no stale aroma, just pure, high-end coffee that dissolves in seconds. If you want an instant coffee that feels like it belongs in a cafe, not a factory, this is the one. Number 2, Intelligentsia Instant Coffee. Intelligentsia is known for its direct trade relationships and uncompromising quality, and the instant version is precisely what you'd expect from them. Clean, honest, and crafted with intent. Unlike store-brand instant coffees that use whatever beans happen to be cheapest, Intelligentsia works directly with farmers, ensuring the beans are not only traceable, but picked and processed at peak ripeness. You taste that integrity in every cup. The instant version has a smoothness that surprises people. There's no bitterness, no sour edge, no burnt aftertaste. Instead, you get a cup that feels balanced and refined, the kind of clarity that usually only comes from freshly ground coffee. Everything is freeze-dried at the perfect point in the roast, locking in the flavor long before it can fade. If you're tired of instant coffee that tastes like compromise, Intelligentsia proves you don't have to settle anymore. Number 1. Bulletproof Clean Instant Coffee. Bulletproof Clean Instant Coffee is built for drinkers who want energy without drama, no stomach pain, no nervous crash, no questionable residues. While most instant coffees use beans that sit in warehouses for months, Bulletproof screens its beans for mold toxins and ensures they're roasted cleanly from the start. You taste that difference immediately. The cup is low acid, silky, and surprisingly rich, without the harsh bitterness that turns so many people away from instant coffee. People who struggle with traditional coffee often say Bulletproof is the first cup that doesn't make them feel jittery or drained. That's because it avoids the shortcuts that cheap instant coffees rely on. No fillers, no flavor chemicals, no hidden additives. Just clean, carefully sourced beans turned into a smooth instant brew. This is the coffee for people who want clarity, consistency, and comfort in every sip, and who refuse to put questionable ingredients into their daily routine.